Hello again, this is Mom Drea. Welcome back to another session about the applications in business. We are going to tackle more about chart of accounts and a little bit of coding in the accounting information system. If you wish to download this video, you may subscribe and you may also message me or comment for the materials and the audio format for this recording. I will be using a portion of information technology auditing by James Hall and a demo on Xero about chart of accounts and all its navigation and features. So stand by and hope you enjoyed this session. So coding is like the one we used in chart of account is basically useful to the management and the reporting. Um, for example, if you imagine writing all the line documents for the debits and the credits, and then you're using a very long descriptive, otherwise you will be lost. And coding in AIS basically concisely represents a large amount of complex information that would otherwise be unmanageable. So this support mostly the audit function by providing an effective audit trail. So accounting personnel like us or those who do the data entry, posting to the ledger accounts will require like searching through all the subsidiary files using lengthy descriptive as a keywords. So this will be painfully slow and postings to the wrong accounts will be common. If you are, for example, also a warehouse personnel and you're tasked on locating and picking goods. So locating and picking goods for shipments are embedded or and then shipping errors will be likely to result because there's no standard coding. And if you're like a sales staff, properly identifying the items sold requires the transcription of the large amounts of details onto source documents. Apart from the time and efforts involved, this tends to promote clerical errors as well or incorrect shipments. Uses of coding in AIS, it also provides a means of accountability over the completeness of the transactions process and identify the unique transactions and accounts within the file. And among these ways of coding is a sequential code. Sequential codes, it represents the items in sequential order. It used pre-numbered source documents and it tracked each transactions process and identify any out of the sequence documents. If the transaction processing system detects any gaps in the sequence of transaction numbers, it alerts the management to the possibility of a missing or misplaced transactions. By tracing the transaction number back through the stages in the process, management can eventually determine the cause and effect of the error. So without sequentially numbering the documents, there would also be a problem in sorting out uh, which and detecting and resolving this kind of errors. So among the disadvantages, arbitrary information, meaning it carry no information content beyond their order in the sequence. So if I put in the cash for number 1. So it has no meaning unless you put in this, or if you designate this information. It's hard to make changes and insertions. So if you are inserting a new item at some midpoint, it requires complete renumbering again. So another types of codes is black codes, which is primarily known in a chart of accounts. So it represents the whole class of by assigning each class a specific range within a coding scheme. This is the one that solve the disadvantages of inserting a number in a sequential order. So as I said, this is used for a chart of accounts, the basis of the general ledger, and it allows for the easy insertion of new codes within the block. It don't have to reorganize the coding structure. If I designate the all number 1 as assets or current assets, one from 1000 to 1999, I still have more allowance to put in, and I don't have to reorganize in case in the future there's additional creation of charts. And then if I could like put also all those codes that starts at number 2 as liabilities and 3 for the equities. The disadvantage of this is that it is also arbitrary information. So the information contents is not readily apparent. For instance, the account number 626 means nothing until you match it against the chart of the accounts, which identifies it as advertising expense, for example. So if I put in all that starts with 6,000, 6000 onwards as expenses, I can easily identify the or where to look in the account chart of accounts. Group codes. So group codes represents the complex items or events involving 2 or more pieces of information using fields with a specific meaning. For example, a coding scheme for tracking sales might be 04-09-476214-999, meaning 04 is for the store number and department number is 09, and all that this item number is the 6 digits number 476214, and for the 2 digits number at the last identifies the salesperson. The advantage of group codes is that it facilitates the representation of large amount of diverse data. It also allows complex data structures to be represented in a hierarchical form that is logical and more easily remembered by us layman's or humans. So it permits detailed analysis and reporting both with an item class and across different classes of items. With this level of information, a corporate manager could measure the profitability of the store, since you are already tracking it by 04. We can also compare the performance of similar departments across all stores, tracking the movement of a specific inventory items, and evaluates sales performance by employees or salespersons within and between stores. The disadvantages of this, however, is that it is also arbitrary information. We tend to and then we tend to overuse it, which can lead to unnecessarily complex group codes that cannot be easily interpreted. Unrelated data may be linked simply because it can be done, and this can lead to overusing, which can increase storage cost, promote clerical errors, and increase processing time and effort. Since it is so long, I could easily be lazy enough and just create another scheme for tracking. Another commonly used code is the alphabetic codes. It is used for many of same purposes as numeric codes. It can be assigned sequentially or used in block and grouping code techniques. It may be used to represent large number of items and can represent up to 26 variations per field. So you have more options compared to the 0 to 10 numeric sequential coding. Now you can have up to 26 A to Z variations. The disadvantages of this is also arbitrary information. It is very difficulty of rationalizing the meaning of the codes sequentially assigned. So sorting the codes that are coded alphabetically tend to be more difficult for some users. Mnemonic codes. This is very easy to remember. Alphabetic character used as abbreviations, acronyms, and other types of combinations. It do not require users to memorize the meaning since the code itself is very informative and not arbitrary. So if we know that NY can stand for New York, or the capacity to represent large numbers of items is increased dramatically through the use of pure alphabetic codes or alphabetic character embedded within the code names. Numeric code names can be alphanumeric codes also. So for example, we tend to use ACCTG for accounting. MKTG stands for marketing. We can also use MGT for management. The disadvantages is that limited usability and availability. They are limited in their ability to represent items within a class. For example, the entire class of accounts receivable could be represented by mnemonic code AR, right? But we would quickly exhaust meaning combinations of alphabetic characters if we tend to represent the individual accounts that make up this class. These accounts will be represented better by sequential block or group coding techniques. Okay. So in our previous exercises, we been using the demo company and already changed the organization settings and changed the display name to Snappy Freight Company. We will be using this in the next succeeding exercises. For today, we are talking about chart of accounts, which is found by going to the accounting tab, advanced, and then chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts is the list of accounts that every transaction you enter into Xero is coded to for management and reporting. So your chart of accounts is usually arranged in tabs, complete list of accounts, followed by the accounts classes, assets, liabilities, equities, expenses, and revenue. Within these broad groups are the different types of accounts. For example, under expenses, you can distinguish between overheads and direct costs. The account type choice will determine where on the reports the accounts is shown and how it is treated. So like I said on the previous slides, Xero assigns a default chart of accounts that has a flat structure. It uses the accounts account types to arrange the accounts on the reports. In here, you can see the account type is the bank, revenue, direct cost, current asset, liability, etc. What is account type? So every account in the chart of accounts is assigned an account type. This determines the treatment of transactions coded to the account, and it influences how the accounts appear in the reports. So account types are grouped together into accounts classes that I mentioned. So if you're going to add a new account, this would show as the current asset, fixed asset, the drop down, and then current assets. Let's go over here for the account code. What is account code? Usually it is simply a unique identifier. This should not be duplicated. It's not vacant, and it should be unique. And it can be used to group also you used block codes, like all that starts with 0 means it's a bank account type. So chart of accounts code can be up to 10 characters or alphanumeric. So each account must have a unique name. The description is limited also and intended as a guide for what the account is, and does not seek to advise you of how you should specifically use the account. Um, all the systems in Xero have generic name and description. If you want to differentiate the names by industries or business, you can just edit the Xero accounts and change the name and descriptions. We are going over again here. The system locked account and then systems account. It is usually symbolized by the padlock icon in the chart of accounts. The system accounts are locked by Xero. as they are used for specific accounting functions such as the accounts receivable and the accounts payable for reporting purposes like the rounding off or the suspense. So transactions and manual journals can be posted to certain systems accounts such as the historical adjustment or retained earnings. Systems account can be archived and or deleted, but the account name or code can be edited. The locked account, on the other hand, um, this is usually used if we're creating repeating journals or transaction bank rules, tracked inventory, or your registered fixed account. This is the one where the user is the one who assigned the locked accounts. So they aren't system accounts, so can be edited, but can't be also archived or deleted. Transactions or manual journals can be posted to a locked account that isn't a system account. How to edit, add, and delete. Adding the account is easy. From any tab, just simply click the add account here. So any fields are mandatory except the description, which is optional, and the check boxes for the dashboard, watch list, and expense claims, and enabling payments is also. Just click on the add account. You first identify the accounts type, which is shown here for our reporting purposes also. And you need to identify the unique code or available coding and the name. As I said, the description is optional. And the text is also mandatory for the systems. These three boxes. So this one, if you want to display this on our dashboard, you need to check the boxes. For the show in expenses, if you want it to be shown as one of the options for the reimbursement or the zero expense, you need to click on this second box. Enabling payments to these accounts. When you are receiving payments for our invoices or also recording the payments for the bill, usually the one on the options at the drop down is the cash or the banks. So if we wish to use the accounts for reclassification or use some expense account or any of the one that is under our chart of accounts to be shown as one of the options, payment options, you can check on this one. So enabling payment options is made or received against the account, or to enable payments to these accounts when payments are made from non-bank transactions, such as, for example, the owner's drawing. This is the most commonly used examples. Okay. The next column here that we're going to talk is the year-to-date balances. So year-to-date balances for the account displays the particular balance to the type of account, that is expense and revenue accounts, example profit and loss accounts. We usually recognize a financial year to date the balance displays. Example, all transactions throughout the account from the start of the current financial year 2019, January 2019, until today's date, which is December 2019, if you're going to filter on the annual profit and loss. So when you click on the year-to-date balance to view the balance for the, let's say, the sales here, you will see all the transactions for the account, not just those for the financial year. So up to today's date, which is March or 2020. So asset liabilities and equity accounts, or the balance sheet accounts on the other hand, are an at balance display. That is all the transactions through the account showing the balance as today's date. When you click on the year-to-date balance of the accounts receivable to view the details for this account, all of the transaction displays will be accounted in the balance. So even if you click on the 0.00, even if you can access the account details screen and a list of every transaction that has been entered against this account. Now let's go for the editing. Let's try editing. You can import this, you can print it by PDF, and you can export it. Mostly if I want to edit this whole chart of account, I export this first before I import this. It's easy for me than to import the template, which is blank. At least here, if I export this one, I have a guide for the columns and how I will enter this. So this importing will give you step by step here. It should be CSV format file. You can also use the text for importing. So this is the template, and which is blank as well. So now I go to exporting the file. For the practice exercise 2, you need to note that if you're using a mobile device, you will be unable to export snappy chart of accounts. However, you still need to make these changes as the other practice exercises relies on them being made. So simply make the changes directly in the chart of account screen than exporting it. So you can edit it by just clicking on the link. This is also accessible for the mobile, even Android. I already give screenshots of that. Now let's go over here. I will give you some techniques on how you will be able to edit this. As you can see, this is put on one column or one cell. And it is on the comma delimited format. So there you go. I just exported the chart of accounts, which will lead you to the CSV format of the file. I want to, you can edit it here, just find the account, but it's kind of messy because everything is put together on one cell. So I wanted to separate it like this one into columns. How will I use that? One of the tricks in Excel, powerful tools, you can use query, like you can edit it first on the Power Query, or you can transform and clean all your data in the Data tab, export from text. Hold on, I will just close this, then create a new Excel. Okay. So on the tabs tab, you need to click from text, or I'm using Windows or Excel 2010, so you might find it different in your Excel format. So, and then I will need to download the chart of accounts here, and this will lead me to describe the data or the text import wizard, which I need to correct or clean. The limited characters such as comma or tabs separate each field, excuse me. I will use the comma and then the tab at the same time, or yes, this will delete all the tab and then separate the fields to its rightful place. In here, I can also edit the data format, like here for the text, general, or later on, I can just edit it while I'll do the work. It's up to you. And just click finish. Finish. And then, yes, I will click on that field. Magic. So there you have it. Let's say I will have to enter 0 to 9. Let's say, as you can see here, at first I will have the one that have the asterisk at the top, like the code, the name, the type, the tax code. Those column means that it is a compulsory field or mandatory to put on that. The column headings must remain in the field and not be changed, or the importing of this chart of accounts will fail. So it still have the street, dashboard, watch list option, expense claims options, and able option. If I put in yes here, which is the inventory, this will appear on our dashboard here in the watch list as the list of count. So if no, it will not appear. So you can insert here. Let's say I will insert 092, or I can just simply add at the bottom, whichever works for you. 092 for the and this is asset, and this is let's say unprecedented. Unpresented funds, and this is current asset. This is tax exempt 0, and I will have to make it appear on our dashboard. Yes, also yes, and yes. And if putting yes to dashboard watch list, like the inventory, it will appear here. So the unpresented fonts should appear here later on when we are able to import it. And let's also say, hold on, sorry. Let's also say I will change the sales to freight income. Freight income. And the janitorial expense code, this one to 610. 610. What else will we have to change? I can also add in here or insert it at the bottom, or add it wherever. So let's say I want to add a new revenue. This is just 2. I'll just insert Control C, Control Shift plus, the shortcut for inserting a row. So I will add here a revenue code for storage income 430. Storage income. You can insert it anywhere, or it will arrange itself upon importing. And it would have a tax of 925, correct? Yes. Not, you can change the description. As I mentioned a while ago, this is optional. And then let's say this is yes. And what else? Let me say I will add a direct cost. So here I can see that direct cost starts with 5. So the code should also starts with 5. So I'll start with 510 and storage fees, for example, since we have storage income. So this is direct cost, storage fees. And then the balance column, this one is the balance column used to import balances, which is this is one is also optional. So positive balances are imported as debits, negative balances as credits. So any balances saved in Xero will be replaced during the import. So don't remove the balance column, even though this one is optional heading, as this is important when you're importing it, or else it will create an error or it will fail. Then you need to save as. So save as, use the save as command. You need to keep the file in CSV format or comma delimited. And let's say I'll just save it at the desktop so it's easier to find. And this is Snappy Freight. COA. Okay. Click OK. Okay. Closed. Yes. And then save. Oh, it's already saved. Okay, now let's go on here and then import the chart of a house. I've already started, so if you started, it will be on the drop down or quick access menu. So in here, import. And then you need to select the Xero system options. No, don't for contains the balances. Xero, close, browse, find the browse and locate the saved files. Import. It will have the review, the import summary, so you can see which accounts has been included for importing and any changes or accounts in Xero has been excluded. Hold on. So you should need to review. Error, select the file. Okay, there you have it. Able to make the changes there. And that's That's chart of account. See you again next time.